Chapter 13, Death of the Body, Melissa. So, this is the part where Aralamb is going to speak about the single thing that is one of the deepest fears a lot of humans experience. I mean, let's face it, nobody wants to think about his or her own death. The big unknown, that place where, for whatever the reason, your body stops doing what you go about your business every day just taking for granted will continue to happen, and it just stops, dead. The one cool thing for me, at least right now, is the fact that many scientists, healers, mystics, and just regular people are studying, returning from, and having some input on what death of the body is and what it really means for us as souls. I, for one, through my relationship with Aralamb, have much less fear about physical death. It's not the death I fear anymore, it's the leaving. I don't want to leave all of the amazing people and experiences that I have in my life, so that is where my fear lies. I don't believe that we are all just a wink in time and then there is nothing. This girl, me, has seen too much to believe that anymore. So for me, it's not the death of my body someday, it's the leaving the amazing loves and experiences of my life that I fear most. Either way, fearing death is a serious waste of time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anyone should seek out death or look forward to it, but certainly fearing death is not necessary. Aralamb will explain more about how it works and what happens next. That is the greatest part. There is a next. We aren't just worm food in the end. Our physical body does go back to dust, but we, ourselves, in the big, awesome sense, go on and on and on. That is the good news. Aralamb. Your human body, just as with other species on other worlds, is simply a very highly evolved vessel in which you, your soul, can reside. Within your body lays your brain. Your brain evolved in order to allow your soul to connect with your faith tether, third eye, and consciousness. Your brain works as a fully integrated organic informational sonic wave tuner, as well as the bridge between fully electromagnetic information coming in from the universal codes, which is then transmuted into full physical being at the lowest levels of frequency by the tether and the DMF. Your brain is an organically derived computer system by which all input from Earth's energetic plane and the universal creation plane are combined in order to facilitate your free will within a lifetime. Your body is the one arena for all information at your fingertips to converge, allowing you to live, be, breathe within your life. Your brain has at its subconscious levels full access to all information that is available throughout the universe. However, at this time on your planet, humans are not using or accessing the full potential of that information. Species on your planet and on many others have many levels of access to this information, which is always evolving, hopefully upward. Put simply, there are species who are further down on the ladder of brain evolution, and many, many more who are much higher on the levels of brain evolution. Your brain, as it sits, is fully capable of evolving up the ladder of sense and understanding. At this time in Earth's history, the upgrade of your brain circuits is fully underway. This upgrade, however, is also a free will issue, so there is never a forcing of such information. You as a soul and human at this time are simply being given the road signs to read or not read at your own pace and insistence. The reason that I give you this information about your brain is in order to speak with you about an issue of importance to humanity, physical death of the body. How a death happens is fully within the control of the incoming soul prior to its birth. By this statement, I literally mean that every soul prior to its birth onto the earth plane will have chosen, and obviously forgotten, 2 or 3 possible intersections where death could occur. The final time of death would also be chosen. Let me explain. During a lifetime, a soul can build into that life some or the other hardship, which may result in the death of that body and the end of that lifetime. In the lifetime, the soul also has the ability to choose to fight and stay in the lifetime. By placing these intersections into a lifetime, a soul gives itself great opportunities for growth. A perfect lifetime, after all, would not impart many lessons. Souls deciding to incarnate for a lifetime usually choose to have great learning potential placed within that coming lifetime. A soul may place intersections of illness, accident, choice, or difficulty to learn the lessons of healing, manifestation, strength of character, strength of will, etc. I mean to say that during difficult or life threatening events, souls often overcome those odds or experiences and live long, happy lives, changed by those difficulties for the better. Now, there is no judgment assessed if a soul leaves during one of these possible death scenarios. It would be a decision of free will. Should a soul determine to survive a difficult patch and not choose death, then the lessons learned would be added to their experience as a soul and not need to be addressed in future lifetimes. Into each lifetime, a predetermined birth and death are situated. A soul will be born, and if that soul chooses to learn and survive any midlife crises that is decided to place into a life, then a final exit or death will be in place to finish the lifetime. Keep in mind that there is no set rule that says multiple crises must be placed within a lifetime. It is just an option. Some souls, after particularly difficult physical lives, will choose to reincarnate into much less challenging lives and place no divergent death possibilities for themselves. This is also fine and not judged in any way. So, let us, for example's sake, assume that the soul of Maddie, Maddie had a long, successful life as a wife of a beet farmer in Alabama. Maddie had 4 children and is now living with one of her daughters in the same town that she raised her family in. Maddie is 94 years old, still a member of her Baptist church. Maddie can just walk with a cane and still helps with Sunday dinner, but gets tired in the afternoons and likes to sit in her chair near the open window and doze while she thinks about Harlan, her husband of 50 years, who died 10 years ago in the very house she and her kids still live in. Maddie has a lot of knee pain, but she's happy. She daydreams, or maybe she is sleeping. She's not sure anymore. Sometimes her dreams drift into her daytime, and she can hear Harlan in the kitchen making coffee for them, or smell his cologne as he bends to kiss her velvety 94-year-old cheek. There is a pond out the window where she sits, and she can see Harlan coming up the lane for supper. Harlan is tall and handsome. Maddie blushes now, even thinking about the day that they had been married for 2 months, and she was pretty sure that she was pregnant. Maddie sees him coming closer up the path, sees the sun in his dark red hair, and hopes that their baby has his hair. A breeze moves the surface of the pond, and he looks up and sees her through the window. Smiling, he picks up pace toward the house. She loves him so much that it hurts her heart. She fears if God would ever take him. He is half of her. She wipes her hands on her apron. "Mama, it's time for supper. Mama." "Oh, I must have been napping." Maddie glances out the window, and the surface of the pond is rippling in the sun like stars. She lets Sylvia help her up to her walker, and she smiles as she looks at her daughter's slightly graying red hair. Sylvia is her first baby and has Harlan's hair. After lunch, Maddie is tired, and Sylvia gently walks her back to her chair by the window. The chair is old but big and overstuffed. Sylvia and the other kids had it reupholstered in 1990 for Harlan. The chair had been his mother's and sat at her parlor when they first started dating. It was actually a huge overstuffed love seat that had been in the family since 1910 or so. The love seat had been shipped down from Chicago on a horse-drawn wagon and handmade by an Italian furniture maker. It had been her and Harlan's prized possession, and Harlan sat in it every evening to watch the birds and deer visit the pond below the house. The big chair had been upholstered in a beautiful smoke gray fabric with giant white and pink peonies in the shades of sunset, all interwoven with deep green grapevines. Sylvia had found the fabric at a fine restoration place in Los Angeles, and it was from the original pattern of the love seat. Maddie had not eaten much lunch. She felt fine, but so tired. It was October, and the windows in the house were all open, and fresh fall air was coming in. It was cool, and as she looked out toward the pond, she could see her great-granddaughter Madeline, named after her, pulling at her 3-year-old son Chase's hand to get him further away from the edge of the water. Maddie smiled and closed her eyes, or did she? The time for Maddie to leave and join Harlan had drawn near. She knew it. Harlan would visit her in her naps and her nighttime dreams more and more now. She knew that he would be meeting her soon. She could not tell anyone how she knew, but she could feel the presence of her mother, Harlan, and some of her cousins who had passed over before her. She had the feeling that she was about to return to a place that was truly her home somehow. When she was a child, in the summer, her whole family would ride on horseback out to Lake Willoughby and camp for days on end. She loved the feeling of the whole house packing up for the long ride through the wilderness to get to the lake. Maddie loved to ride on ahead with her brother Justin and be the first two at the shore to set up camp. Every time they broke through the trees and the first glints of the lake sparkling in the sun came through the pine boughs, she felt at home. Maddie had that same feeling now. She knew she was about to go home again. Maddie died that afternoon sitting in that chair. She fell asleep in the chair. Maddie's soul simply let go of her body. This is the first stage of a physical death which takes place in this manner at the end of a lifetime. The body and soul simply let go of each other, much in the same way that a ship in the harbor moves when the tether anchoring it is disconnected from its mooring. There is usually a small whooshing sound heard by the soul accompanying this letting go. This is literally the sound of a soul departing the vessel of the body. In Maddie's case, for example, she was sitting and she was already noticing on many levels the idea that she would be leaving very soon. This is very often the case with souls whose bodies are old, infirm, racked with illness, in a paralyzed or catatonic state. Those bodies who are at the end of a lifetime and the soul are fully aware of the end of organic life. In these kinds of situations, the soul becomes more and more connected to the lobby and less connected with the earth plane and the physical body. A soul will often even speak about seeing or sensing some other place or people who have passed on to the surviving souls around them. In Maddie's case, she was seeing and sensing Harlan, who was ready in the lobby to meet her when she crossed back over. Because Maddie's soul was becoming disconnected from her organic body, she was beginning to sense and see many more of the energy levels between the earth plane and the lobby. She was literally beginning to see where she was going. During this process, Maddie's soul will have popped suddenly out of her body, been fully aware of the process, and been standing, if you will, beside Harlan, looking at her elderly body sitting in the chair empty of her soul energy. This process is never frightening to the soul who has just died because there is a sudden and complete memory of who they actually are and what is really going on. At that point, Maddie would have quickly scanned the energy of her family and risen to the place of her arrival back in the lobby. Maddie is met by her guide, teachers, family members, other souls in her learning pod who have returned before her, and any souls who wanted to greet her upon her return. In the period where Maddie was sitting in her chair and still alive in her body with her heart beating, her soul and faith tether began to disengage from her third eye and brainstem. This is always the case in this kind of dying experience. As her soul and faith tether begin to disconnect from her physical brainstem, her mooring to this world weakens and those connections to the lobby grow more in number and stronger. At the point where her soul energy is more connected to the lobby and the creation, she will leave her body fully. The organic body, organs, and electromagnetic brain systems will not function without at least 35% of the soul engaged in keeping the body running. In near-death experiences, although the breathing, heartbeat, and functional body may seem to be dead, the soul will still be engaged energetically to the 35% mark, while that soul is 65% connected with the lobby. Because of this, often when a soul chooses to re-engage in the lifetime, the body can be brought back with organic medical intervention. The truth is, if that soul truly decided to leave the life at that time and pulled out that final 35% of energetic involvement, the body would die no matter what was done to it by medical intervention. During the near-death experience, the soul is likely to be watching the medical team trying to resuscitate the body and decides with the help of family or guides to stay or go home to the lobby fully. Within both of these death scenarios, there is no physical pain. The act of dying itself is not painful. The seconds just prior to the soul leaving the body can be painful, of course, but once the soul is out of the organic body, there is no pain. Should the death experience be fast and unexpected, the exact same rules apply. Should a body find itself in an accident where it is suddenly damaged, the soul will pop out instantly from the organic body. This soul may be confused momentarily about what has happened and be very suddenly outside of the organic body looking on. These kinds of deaths are usually planned by the soul prior to the birth for learning purposes, and a guide will be present for that soul to assimilate the death. Again, a soul may or may not choose to follow the body for a decision to stay or move on. This process is not fear based in any way. In this situation as well, the second that the soul is outside of the organic body, there is no pain sensation at all. Pain is only felt by a soul when it resides within the body. Your body, while an amazing and blessed kind of vessel with a universally brilliant and holy brain sensory computation unit attached to it, it is still just your vessel. You should care for it, treat it well, and honor it, but it is not you. You are a soul. You are all of your combined works, thoughts, accomplishments, lessons, hardships, loves, etc. Those experiences make up your soul over lifetimes and lifetimes. Your body is very simply your vessel and home for a specific lifetime. After you have departed your body, there is no one correct way for the body that has been left behind to be dealt with. Your old body can be buried in a box, embalmed, burned, cremated, spread as ashes in any location, taxidermied, eaten in pie by family members in remembrance. These latter two suggestions were made by Melissa to add humor to what she calls a very heavy subject. Buried under a tree, shot into space, sunk in the ocean, built into the Home's Foundation, and on and on. My point here is that to the Creator God, organic bodies of any kind are simply a very elegant and functional invention meant to encompass souls throughout lifetimes on Earth and an uncountable number of other planets and levels of existence in the universe, period. The Creator God does not care how you adorn, tattoo, pierce, or decorate your body, as long as you don't prematurely destroy your connection with it by free will choice to leave the playing field of your life. Suicide, see Chapter 4. Period. All and any religious doctrine rules about what correct way there is to deal with a body after death are rules made by mankind to comfort itself after the loss of the soul who left. That's it on the empty body. That's it on the empty body vessel after death. After your soul has left your body, you will be free to move toward the lobby. You are, after meeting with your guide, given many options for your next moves. As a soul, you are given the opportunity to look in on those who are left behind in the life you just left. You will be given the chance to spend those days looking in on your family, the funeral, the conversations, the celebrations, or lack of celebrations of your lifetime. You will be able to hear and see the inner conversations of those that you left behind. This is offered to all souls directly after death, and almost all souls returning from the earth engage in them. In very rare cases, a soul will return, and the whole of his or her own soul pod will have been already back in the lobby. This would be the case where the returning soul chose to be an anchor, so to speak, for a whole group of souls, and be the holder of a final lifetime where there are literally no remaining family members or close contacts, and that soul would not need to view the souls left behind. This is quite rare, and 96% of the time, a soul will view everything happening regarding his or her death for the month or so after that death in Earth time. After the soul is done with any viewing, they get to decide if they need a kind of rest time for rejuvenation, or maybe they travel out into the creation levels of the lobby and spend eons of time with their kindred soul pod. If the soul is on a very active and joyous learning curve, he or she may decide to take a short time of rest and relaxation, only to decide to jump right back into a new lifetime on the earth plane in order to continue the schooling that is life. It is the practice of many souls to reincarnate back into the same soul group who is still living on earth as a new grandchild or great-grandchild in order to continue to learn themselves and facilitate the learning situations of those still within that family lifetime. This is a great tool that is used to help raise up whole soul family core groups within short periods of time. The structure would be that if the whole soul pod group needs to learn about forgiveness, then they may keep incarnating together over and over until every soul in the group has had to learn forgiveness from the viewpoint of the forgiven and the forgiver. It's the most literal way to learn the other person's shoes, or the do unto others rules. I share with you these details because, from the point of view of your soul, the natural death of the body is like a graduation of sorts. You return home from the earth school and get your grades for that lifetime. You visit all of the souls you missed while you were gone, have a vacation, and then decide if you choose to return and work at another level of knowledge. From your soul's vantage point, death of the body is simply a glorious graduation and the opportunity to, as Melissa so aptly states, saddle up and ride again. Woo! I would tell you that fearing natural death is to waste the beauty of your trip worrying about getting back home. You will get home, so you should really take each breathtaking moment in. This is why your soul chose to come and inhabit your body in the first place. It is the experience that you came for, not the fear of those experiences ending. Death is not the end. It's just another chance to begin again.